In the quiet suburbs of Green Bay, Wisconsin, one February night in 2022 shattered lives forever. This is the story of Taylor Schabusiness, a case so gruesome it involves drugs, deadly sex, decapitation, dismemberment, and a killer whose violence didn't stop at the crime scene, or even behind prison walls. On February 21st, 2022, 24-year-old Shad Thyrion was picked up by his occasional partner, 24-year-old Taylor Schabusiness, then known as Taylor Coronado. They smoked cannabis with a friend before heading back to the Stony Brook Lane home, where Thyrion's mother and her boyfriend were out of town. What followed was pure horror. High on methamphetamine and prescription drugs like trazodone, the pair engaged in rough, drug-fueled sex. According to Schabusiness's own chilling statements to police and later court testimony, she strangled Thyrion to death with a chain during the act, intentionally, prosecutors said, for sexual gratification. She admitted she enjoyed choking him, watched him die over 3 to 5 minutes, and even told detectives she liked it. But the nightmare was only beginning. Over the next day and a half, Schabusiness decapitated his body with a knife, mutilated and dismembered him, played with the remains for hours, then scattered the parts. His severed head in a bucket, torso nearby, a leg in the minivan she was driving. The medical examiner ruled it homicide by strangulation. Schabusiness was arrested quickly. In interviews, she casually described the acts with little remorse. She faced first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, and third-degree sexual assault. Her defense, not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect, blaming methamphetamine psychosis. The July 2023 trial was graphic beyond words. Autopsy photos, wound diagrams, expert testimony on the dismemberment. After less than an hour of deliberation in the guilt phase, a Brown County jury convicted her on all counts. They rejected insanity in the responsibility phase. On September 26, 2023, Judge Thomas Walsh sentenced her to life in prison without parole, plus consecutive sentences totaling 18 years for the other charges. She would never walk free. Taylor Schabusiness was sent to Techita Correctional Institution, Wisconsin's maximum security women's prison in Fond du Lac. But her pattern of explosive violence followed her inside and repeatedly spilled into the courtroom. Let's rewind to February 14, 2023. During a pretrial hearing on her competence to stand trial, Schabusiness was seated in handcuffs next to her public defender, Quinn Jolly. At 8:48 a.m., as lawyers and Judge Walsh discussed a missing expert witness, she suddenly jumped from her chair and attacked Jolly, lunging at him and appearing to strike him in the head with her elbow. A Brown County Sheriff's deputy tackled her immediately. She struggled violently on the ground as officers pinned her down and dragged her out. No one was seriously injured, but the relationship was shattered. Jolly later filed to withdraw, calling the attorney-client bond irretrievably broken. He stepped away from the case. Fast forward 2 years. By April 4, 2025, Schabusiness was back in Fond du Lac County Court, this time for a preliminary hearing on brand new charges from inside prison. She was facing felony battery by a prisoner. Dressed in an orange jumpsuit, surrounded by 5 deputies, quickly becoming 7, she had only been seated a few minutes when she erupted again. She lunged out of her seat, screaming, and charged directly at her new defense attorney, Curtis Julka. Deputies swarmed in, pinned her to the floor, and carried her out of the courtroom by her arms and legs. Video of the chaotic takedown circulated widely. Julka immediately asked to withdraw. The judge allowed it after the hearing. A not guilty plea was entered on her behalf, and the rest of the preliminary hearing continued by Zoom, with Schabusiness appearing in full restraints. This wasn't isolated. Court records show at least 2 public defenders had already withdrawn after physical attacks during her various proceedings. By May 2025, after firing her appellate attorney Gregory Petit and missing the deadline to file a formal appeal of her murder conviction, the Wisconsin State Public Defender's Office refused to appoint new counsel. Her appeal efforts effectively died. Then came the incident that put her back in front of a judge for assault, this time as the accused attacker inside the very prison meant to contain her. On July 24, 2024, at Techita Correctional Institution, Schabusiness needed medical attention after a staple lodged in her arm. A sergeant escorted her to the nurse's station. As the nurse approached with tweezers to remove it, Schabusiness suddenly began giggling, then lunged straight at the nurse. The sergeant, identified as the victim in the complaint, pushed the nurse to safety and tried to restrain Schabusiness. In a split-second rage, the convicted killer grabbed a metal tray, then hoisted a small table and swung it at the sergeant's head. Chaos erupted. The sergeant deployed pepper spray. Backup officers rushed in and finally subdued her. The sergeant suffered injuries so severe she was unable to return to work. Body cam and surveillance footage captured the entire violent outburst, footage that would later be played in open court. Originally charged with felony battery by a prisoner, Schabusiness avoided trial with a plea deal on October 8, 2025. She pleaded no contest to a reduced misdemeanor charge of disorderly conduct. Sentencing was set for December 1, 2025. That day in Fond du Lac County Court, she was wheeled in strapped to a chair, surrounded by 7 deputies. Body cam video of the prison attack was played for the judge. Schabusiness spoke briefly, offering what sounded like an apology. "I ain't no paralinguistic expletive. Paralinguistic, and I didn't mean to go off on that paralinguistic expletive. Like that at all. I'm sorry for that, and how it came off like that. It didn't mean to happen that way, and it shouldn't have." She even suggested she deserved 10 days at least on the bracelet. But as she was wheeled out, she defiantly flipped her middle finger toward the courtroom. Assistant District Attorney Tessa Button made it clear, whether you are in prison for life or not, violence against staff members in prison will not be tolerated. Her defense attorney, Christopher Froelich, who noted he actually had some kind of chemistry with Schabusiness, asked for just 10 days. The judge gave her the maximum, 90 days in Fond du Lac County Jail, to run consecutively with her life sentence. Froelich said he would appeal the sentence at her request. Today, Taylor Schabusiness remains locked away for life, plus those extra 90 days at Techide Correctional Institution. Shad Thyrion's family continues to grieve a son, brother, and friend taken in one of the most depraved acts Wisconsin has ever seen. From the blood-soaked basement in Green Bay to repeated courtroom explosions and a prison melee caught on camera, this case is a stark, ongoing reminder of unchecked rage, the horrors of meth-fueled violence, and how one person's darkness can ripple far beyond a single night of horror. Schabusiness has shown the system and the world that even life without parole isn't enough to stop her from lashing out.
The clues didn't add up. A missing watch, a forgotten name. Every witness told a different lie. Everyone had something to gain.